Have you ever marked your presence on a landmark of some sort? Maybe it's graffiti on a wall saying, "Josh was here," or maybe you marked the occasion of your first kiss with your initials and your first crush's initials encircled in a heart on a tree. Maybe you wrote your name in the concrete you cemented your basketball goal in as a kid. Or maybe you marked a special work of art with your signature. If someone later came to these areas and saw your work of art, they may not understand the full story behind the marking, but they would see evidence of your presence there. Maybe your signature would be a reminder of a very important event. In the case of John Hancock, in the signing of the United States Declaration of Independence. In Abram's story, after he separated from Lot, God tells Abram to move to a land called Mamre. In Mamre, Abram would not only continue to worship God and serve God, but he would meet God face to face. It was here that God would make his covenant to make Abram a large nation, outnumbering the grains of sand or stars. In Mamre, God would promise Abram and his wife, Sarai, they would have their first child together in their unbelievably old age. It was in this location Abram would make allies with other nations. In Mamre, God would give Abram and Sarai new names. It is in this area that Abram would be laid to rest with the generations to come. Imagine if we had evidence for this story. Imagine if we can mark Abram's residence at this spot in Mamre where God touched the earth in a physical way. While it may not give us a complete understanding of the fullness of God's character or a better understanding of the story of Scripture, it would provide us validity for its historicity, at least in a small part. In the early 20th century, a German archaeologist by the name of Evaristus Mader began excavating a site in modern-day Hebron, Israel, unearthing artifacts from the Islamic period between 636 AD and 1099 AD, all the way back to 1850 BC, the early Bronze period. Under the first layer, Mader uncovered an early Bronze period or around 330 AD Christian church. The obvious question is, why this location for a Christian church? During those times, Christians would often build churches at significant locations when available. Take the church built around the proposed site of the burial tomb of Jesus or the church at Peter's house as examples. A couple layers deeper marks huge walls from the early Roman period, further marking some level of importance to this location in such a small town. Outside of these walls are structures dating back to the time of the kings of Israel, or Iron Age. However, at the site's bedrock, and at the center of the enclosed section, lies an altar made of uncut stones, dating back to the time of the Bronze Era, when Abram would have resided at this location. Further, the presence of ancient oak trees is evident at the site near springs found next to the corner of the walled structure. This all seems to collaborate with the verse in Genesis 13:18. So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. While this evidence may not be the smoking gun that proves a biblical narrative beyond any doubt, it does seem to further support the possibility of the historical reliability of Scripture. However, this is only the beginning of the evidence surrounding the events of Scripture. This is simply a piece of the puzzle. The picture becomes more detailed and full with each piece gathered and placed. Like breadcrumbs leading us to the truth, this is one set of breadcrumbs that is supported by a long trail that will lead us to understanding the historical relevance of Scripture. Please continue to follow along with me as we look at the breadcrumbs and the puzzle pieces available to us and determine what the truth is behind our history and the God that is sovereign in it. May God keep you and bless you. Really quick, before you go, let me explain why I felt led to start this channel. When talking to Pilate, Jesus said, "I have come into the world to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate responds by asking, "What is the truth?" It's evident that a lot of people are still asking this question almost 2,000 years later. And while we live in an amazing time with the wealth of the world's knowledge available in the palm of our hands, there's often too much information, leaving people unable to process what's true and what's not true. Paul describes such times in this way when he writes his second letter to his disciple Timothy: "Always learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of the truth." There are several who expound on what truth is, but often they are misguided, or they are malice in their intent, or they're being intellectually dishonest. My hope is that I am able to provide evidence for why the scriptural narrative is true, a contextual and practical explanation of the principles found in its writings, and a defense for other believers. As Peter explains, you should always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. If you find value in this channel as I do, there are a few ways you can help, both by gifting and without spending any money. First, react and interact with these videos wherever you're watching from. This greatly helps the channel be seen by others and new people. Next, please share this content with others you feel may benefit from the information found here. Also, please subscribe to this channel on all social media. And finally, if you feel led to, and if you have the means to, please consider giving to this channel through the outlets previously mentioned, or the channel's Patreon. All these links are going to be in the video description. Thank you for watching, and may God keep you and bless you.